Believe in Bigfoot, Dogman, any cryptid? Are you skeptical?
Curious about the supernatural, conspiracy theories, the unknown? Then come join us as we explore facts, tall tales, and encounters on Creatures and Curiosities.
Hello and welcome to Creatures and Curiosities. I'm David.
And I'm Jake.
And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Beast of Bladenboro.
Yeah.
A little town in North Carolina. And, you know, when they call this guy the Beast, he ended up getting the kind of a name of being a vampire.
Right. Which is fitting for we'll get into it, but it's
very fitting.
Yeah.
And, you know, it kind of reminds me of some past episodes that we'll get into in just a minute. But so how was your week, Jake?
Oh, it was phenomenal, especially with the election.
The election.
Yes.
Yep. We have a new president of the United States, and I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna say that I'm ecstatic over it.
Oh yeah.
We'll actually have lower gas prices, and hopefully he can do that whole Social Security, no tax on Social Security and tips, and
now we got Sheehy for us.
We got in the state of Montana, we got Tim Sheehy.
Yep.
I just think it's awesome.
So it's been a good week because of that.
Has been a good week. And if our economy rolls back around and people aren't burning cities to the ground because, you know, of the election results, then we're going to be in a good place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited too. And aside from sitting up and watching late on Tuesday night, it was an exhausting week. But other than that, no, I think the world is back in order. And we'll see how things transpire.
What a wild, not to get too into it, but what a wild reaction to have that the person that won, that you didn't want to win. So your response is, hey, I'm going to burn my city to the ground. I know I live here, but let's just go ahead and burn this to the ground.
Yeah, we'll just loot and destroy and turn us into a third world country because we don't like what happened.
Ridiculous.
It's crazy what people do, but whatever. That's why we do a podcast on cryptids and not people, because I like cryptids.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't stand
not a huge fan of people.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. But okay, so let's get into our podcast. So when I think of like vampires, obviously the only thing that we know in nature that is actually a vampire is the vampire bat.
Right.
And my understanding on a vampire bat is that they don't actually have like hollow teeth where they're sucking blood through like, you know, our traditional vampire horror movies.
Right.
They just bite them and then they lick the blood as it runs out.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, I think we're going to get into the fact that I don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, definitely not what's happening with this guy.
You know, we didn't get that with Chupacabra. We've had in our past episodes, we had the pigs that were slaughtered and bloodlet basically, and nothing found in them. So there's been multiple stories of cryptids that are capable of sucking blood.
Which is a weird
coincidence,
I guess, yeah.
So I don't know if you watched, this is a while back, but it just made me think of it. Did you see the interview with Roseanne Barr where she was talking to Tucker Carlson? I think this interview was in like September of 23. So
I don't know if I saw it, or if I did, I just don't remember.
Well, she's claiming that, and you know, it could be real because again, we do live in a world where it's good versus evil. Yeah. And I think there's some spiritual warfare going on. But she made the allegation that people in Hollywood are vampires. And so he kind of laughs and he said, and she's like, no, I'm being serious. They're real vampires.
Yeah.
They eat babies. They're literally drinking the blood of children. And all of this is getting exposed. And, you know, of course, he's nodding his head up and down. And she's like, I'm not joking around here.
Yeah.
And you're all going to find this out down the road that these people have sold their souls to the devil. They are demonic and they're actual vampires. And they believe by drinking the blood of infants and stuff that they'll obtain that immortality.
Right.
And she said it's going on in Hollywood. And when people try and expose it, they end up dead.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny. Well, it's not funny, but I mean, she was being so serious about it. And so when you talk about monsters, vampires and werewolves and things of that nature, people roll their eyes and they look at you like you're a nut. But there's things out there that are emulating at least what our horror stories of vampires are all about.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if they are really eating, I shouldn't even laugh, because if it's real, that's horrifying.
Right.
They're kidnapping children and eating them.
But it's so outlandish that it's comical.
That it makes it comical.
Yeah.
And it's Roseanne Barr, who, made her living as a comedian.
Right.
But she was very serious about it, that she believes vampires exist and they're in Hollywood. And we idolize these people, which gives them...
Well, not we, but I get what you're saying.
We, right. We as people
Yeah.
idolize these movie stars, which gives them, a little bit more power.
Yeah.
And then when you look at things like, and I'll bring her name up and then we'll lose, many listeners, but like a Taylor Swift.
Oh, yeah.
You go from a 16-year-old untalented girl, because I actually saw her in concert when she opened for the Jonas Brothers years ago, because Grace was obsessed with the Jonas Brothers. And before she rose to fame, she sucked. Yeah. She was so horrible. It was hard to listen to. And, now she's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
And she's got all this fame and fortune. She's probably eating small children.
Well, some of her performances, they look like satanic rituals or witchcraft. And people say, oh, come on, it's just showmanship. And it's like, or it's something hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
You're just choosing to blind yourself.
The orbs, and they have the 12 witches, which is all a ceremonial thing if you look into witchcraft at all. Yeah, they're exposing a lot of stuff. And so I'm going to stick with cryptids because people freak me out.
Yeah.
I think cryptids are a lot easier to deal with. All right. Well, so we probably lost a lot of listeners already based on that.
Good
but
riddance.
You know what? Good riddance.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Beast of Bladenboro, or the Vampire Beast of Bladenboro. This thing, I'm gonna try and go through a little bit of a description on it, but it's a little difficult because there's been multiple descriptions of this particular beast. The general consensus is that it is either like bear-like or panther-like.
Which are two drastically different.
Two drastically different things, but when you combine everybody's description, size, weight, things vary, which I'm going to talk about. But what everybody seems to agree on is that it's panther-like,
right?
More than anything. Bear-like came up. There's a few other little things, but that's not part of the description. But they're trying to throw out there that it could be numerous different types of animals. But panther-like is the main consensus. And some people have said that it's about 4 to 5 feet long, approximately 20 inches in height with a long tail. And typically they're saying that's about a 14 inches to 2 foot long tail. It's bushy. The beast is dark in color, and it can weigh upwards to about 150 pounds.
Which is a big cat.
That would be a pretty good sized cat. Yeah. Others have said it was much smaller, and that this thing makes these chilling sounds like a baby crying, or somebody described it as a woman being stabbed and screaming. So,
which is similar to...
Got to go back to our Wampus cat.
Exactly.
Right? Screaming in the woods, and it sounded like a female screaming.
And then you got to wonder, with this, just like with the Wampus cat, is that a tactic used by the cryptid to lure someone into wherever it's at or away from something it wants to get at?
Yeah, making it sound like it's a woman screaming.
Yeah, you hear a woman screaming and help. You want to go. I mean, if I heard someone screaming like they were getting stabbed, I'd probably go investigate.
Right.
And either get killed or...
Yeah, probably get killed.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what the alternative would be. But many have suggested that they actually saw 2 of these things. So they're saying, well, the other one was possibly the offspring or a mate of the bigger one. And this second beast had been witnessed by some people, and then hunters that had gone out, that you're going to kind of touch on later, had actually noticed the paw prints in the ground were actually going in like a circular pattern which they felt suggested that another one was nearby, that it was, pacing as though it had a mate or a sibling, and it was kind of, how cats will do that, circle their young. And
which would lend credibility to the difference in sizes. You're seeing a youngling or a small one, and then you're seeing the adult.
Right.
Some people are seeing the adult, some people are seeing the small one.
Yeah.
That's why it's so drastic. Makes
perfect sense. So these tracks were located during one of the hunting parties that you're going to touch on several. But these claws were at least an inch long, and the hunters felt that due to the impressions that they found, the size of the paw, the length of the claw, etc., that it would indicate the animal would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 90 pounds, which, as you're saying, if somebody thinks one was 150, and of course, we all would guesstimate weight and height and stuff differently, but if somebody saw a 150-pounder and they're seeing maybe an 80 or 90-pounder, it would make sense that it could be a mate or a younger animal. Some said that the beast was kind of brownish in color or tabby-like, and that it had, quote, runty, end quote, looking ears. I mean, most cats have, I don't know what they mean by runty looking ears, but
to me, stubby.
Yeah.
And I'm just guessing, but
well, aside from like lynx and things like that have the larger pointed ears, most cats do have little stubby ears.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what they say that this thing looks like. So the victims of these possibly two beasts or one beast, however many there are, had been found mangled, their bodies or heads crushed, some of the heads torn off, and most of them completely drained of their blood.
Right.
And that is how the beast became known as this vampire beast. Now they call him Bob. So the beast of Bladenboro, in the short for Bob. The fact that they're drained of blood is the scary part.
Right.
Because we're going to get into things later. You're going to go into some descriptions of what has actually happened in this town where this thing terrorized it. And then later, I'm going to kind of touch on what they think it could be. But I'm just going to go out there right now and say that if these things are drained of blood, this is not typical cat behavior.
Same with the crushed skull, to my knowledge.
Crushed skull.
I don't care about the head ripped off because they could have eaten away and then the head.
Yes.
Just why they're picking at meat. But
and I've seen that in life.
Right.
I had a guy that was found dead out in the wilderness, and his head had been ripped off by presumably a cat.
Right.
So I know that they do that. They'll snap a head off. I mean, if you look at how a cat hunts, it usually grabs you by the neck or throat.
Right.
To either suffocate or paralyze you.
But when you watch them eat, they tear at flesh. They don't bite through bone.
Right.
Which doesn't explain for drained blood or crushed skulls.
And they don't suck blood.
Yeah.
To me, that's the key here. This is probably not a cat, even though it's being described as a cat.
Right.
I think it's got to be its own species of something.
Yeah, vampire beast.
Vampire beast, Bladenboro. Exactly. So where all of this happened is in a little town called Bladenboro, North Carolina. And Bladenboro is like a really small farming community. It's located in Bladen County, North Carolina. And, this county is about 70 miles northwest of Wilmington and just southeast of Lumberton. And Bladenboro is surrounded by pine forest and swamps, which, when you start thinking about cryptids,
that's where they hang out.
I'll tell you what, the pine barrens, pine forests.
Yep.
The Wampus cat was in the forest.
Yep.
You get the Rougarou in the swamps, the lizard man in the swamps, different skunk apes and different things in the swamps. And it's kind of like, wow, cryptids just seem to flock to pine areas, forested areas, swamp lands,
less people.
Fields.
I don't know what the other thing could be, but less people's got to play a huge factor. Most you might go out to the swamp to do some fishing or frog hunting if you're down south and stuff, but it's not like hundreds of people are doing that daily.
Right.
So,
unless you're out there snagging some gators,
right,
for gator tail or whatever. But so anyway, Bladenboro is a very small community. And so when you think about the events that occurred there, it is literally a town that was terrorized by this thing. This community is like 2.2 square miles. So that's pretty small.
Yeah, that's not big at all.
That is a very, very tiny little town. It has a population of about like 1,700 to 1,800 people, something like that, current day. But then I looked up back in the 1950s when this thing was terrorizing the community, there were only about 790 to 800 people.
Half of what it is now.
Half of what it is now. Small little farming community and just being absolutely terrorized.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine the fear back then.
Oh, yeah.
Of a small town that's being harassed by a vampire.
Yeah.
This is terrible. So I'm going to get into the origin story, and then I'm going to turn it over to you for these sightings because the sightings are pretty ominous.
Yeah, they are.
So how this all came to be is on December 29th, 1953, there's this little town of Clarkton, and it's about 8 miles or so east of Bladenboro. And a woman calls local law enforcement, and she tells them that just as the sun was setting, she saw an incredible sight in her neighbor's yard. She tells the police that all of the neighborhood dogs were just barking their heads off. She goes outside to try and determine what's going on. And she sees this large cat-like creature slinking off into the darkness. And just 2 days later, 2 dogs were found dead in the neighboring community of Bladenboro. They weren't just dead. These dogs had been torn to shreds. Their heads had been ripped off of their bodies, and the heads and the skulls were actually crushed. Their bodies drained of blood completely. You know what does that? First off, there's a lot of viciousness in nature. Right?
Oh yeah,
survival of the fittest. These poor little animals run around, and there's always some predator that's trying to take them out. But ripping their heads off and then crushing the skull and sucking the blood out of their bodies.
Right.
I just don't know anything that does that.
No.
It's insane.
And we're not talking like this thing attacked it, hit an artery, and then it shot blood out and blood was everywhere. No. There's not blood anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Now, so there were some cases that I read where they said they found these dead animals and there was a pool of blood next to their body that looks like it had been lapped up and stuff.
Right.
But most of the bodies we're talking about drained of blood. And to me, that's the key. So now you're getting back into the whole concept of the chupacabra, the goat sucker, right?
Right.
Because that's the same thing that was occurring during the chupacabra phase. These animals were being found completely void of blood. And even though some people tried to deny it and say, no, that's not actually the case. It was licked off of them or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, come on, So what, you found a half a pint of blood left in the body. So you remember when we were going through that whole explanation, and it was kind of like, so you found a little blood, but I mean, how much blood is in an animal?
Right.
And you're finding a very trace amount of it. So, it didn't suck it all out. Okay, but it got most of it.
Yeah, come on.
And in this particular case, you're going to touch on some of this later, all the blood gone.
Yeah.
And so to me, that this thing's a vampire. I don't care what anybody says. And so that particular incident where this woman sees this, and then 2 days later, they find these poor little dogs just absolutely mutilated. This would now be known as the first sighting of what would become the beast of Bladenboro, and then later kind of took on the name the vampire beast of Bladenboro because of what was happening.
So jumping into that, that took place on December 31st, 1953, and one of the residents of Bladenboro, 2 of his dogs were found dead, And kind of like you were saying earlier, he found a significant amount of blood near the kennels. Obviously, during the attack, there's going to be blood that comes out from the fight.
Right.
I mean, you can't help that. But he was reported as saying the dogs were, quote, torn into ribbons and crushed, end quote. Which, I mean, come on. What, torn into ribbons, I'm okay with that because an animal's attack is vicious. It's going to rip apart, especially if it's eating. It's the crushed part on top of it it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't get that part. It does make sense, like if it was a big cougar or something.
Yeah, giant grizzly bear that when it steps on the thing, it's so heavy it just crushes it. But we're not talking about that.
We're not talking about it. Yeah, and there's no grizzlies
exactly.
in North Carolina.
Exactly. So this guy's name was Johnny Vause, Vause. Pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. But here's a little quote from him when he talked about the incident. He says, quote, "My dogs put up a good fight. There was blood all over the porch, big puddles of it, and there was a pool of saliva on the porch. It killed one dog at 10:30 and left it lying there. My dad wrapped the dog up in a blanket. That thing came back and got that dog, and nobody's seen that dog since. At 1:30 in the morning, it came back and killed the other dog and took it off. We found it 3 days later in a hedgerow. The top of one of the dog's heads was torn off, and its body was crushed and wet, like it had been in that thing's mouth. The other dog's lower jaw was torn off." End quote.
Brutal death for those poor dogs.
Yeah, just brutal. So, obviously, those didn't stop there. Just the very next day, following day, January 1st, 1954, 2 more dogs were found dead on a farm in Bladenboro. And then, on the night of the 2nd, a farmer reported that his dog had been killed as well. So that's 4 dogs just in 3 days we got that have already been mauled in this little town.
That's crazy.
Then it keeps going on January 3rd, 1954. 2 more dogs were found dead. And this is where it kind of gets interesting. An autopsy was performed on one of the dogs, and it was reported that, quote, "There wasn't more than 2 or 3 drops of blood in him. The victim's bottom lip had been broken open and his jawbone smashed back," end quote.
So these things were literally devoid of blood.
Now you're going to have someone will go, well, there was still a little blood in it.
Yeah.
2 or 3 drops of blood. And that's from an autopsy. So, I mean, there's no doubt that this thing was, like you said, it was sucked dry. I mean,
it's sucked dry. And because the animal in this particular incident isn't ripped open, it's not like all the blood was spilled out onto the floor or whatever.
Exactly.
So these things literally were victims of some form of a vampire.
Right. I mean, there's nothing else to touch on but that.
I mean, how do you get blood out of a body that hasn't been torn open?
No other animals do this.
No. Well, nothing that I'm aware of.
Right. Yeah.
If somebody can jump out there and say, "Oh no, this is the typical behavior of a whatever,"
right,
then I would be willing to listen to that, and then it'd be actually interesting, that because I wasn't aware of any vampire animals that we have.
I'll only be willing to listen to it if it's in that area, not if you're like in Northeast Russia.
Yeah.
They have 4 left of this species of whatever that's known to do this. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool for over there, but what about North Carolina?
Right, yeah. We need to know a species in North Carolina.
Exactly.
That sucks the blood of animals.
Out of a dog.
Yeah.
Completely.
And crushes its head.
Yeah, it rips its jawbone off.
For fun.
So subsequent days, more deaths are reported. January 5th of 1954, a pet rabbit was found, quote, "cleanly decapitated and still warm," end quote. Then on January 7th, a dead dog was found in a pasture near the Bladenboro swamp. But also they found a goat that was reported to have died with its head flattened.
Jeez.
So this thing's just crushing its skulls too.
Yeah, and you got to wonder why? First off, why does it crush the skull?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that does that. I mean,
if we're talking cats too, that's not part of their routine.
None that I've seen.
Right. And I guess it could be possible here and there, but
every animal's had its head ripped off and crushed. It's like, what is going on in Bladenboro in 1954?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So then, essentially, the town has had it with that. I mean, they're fired up. Like you said, they're terrified. You got roughly, just under 800 people living here. in a 2.2 square mile radius, and their animals are being killed left and right in a super violent way. So town's done with it, and so is Police Chief Roy Flores. Is that how you would say his name?
Yeah, that or Fours.
Fours,
yeah.
I'll go with Fours. On the night of the 3rd, January 3rd, he took some of his dogs out, hunting dogs, to try to track this thing down, but they refused to follow the trail.
And boom, here we are, right back into the Jersey Devil.
Exactly.
Remember, they brought the hunting dogs out, and the dogs literally refused, even though they saw the tracks of what they thought was the Jersey Devil.
Which, for a dog, they would be able to pick up the scent if the tracks are there.
And he had shot it and stuff with a cannon and brought the dogs out to track it.
Yeah.
And they refused to go after it. And we talked about it in that episode, that animals sense evil.
Yep,
and
exactly.
they cower down. It's like when Bigfoot was on my property and Daryl, my big Australian Shepherd.
That barks at everybody.
Barks at everybody, hates everything.
Yeah.
Flies into the house, terrified.
Yeah.
Animals know. They know what not to mess with for the most part.
And for those of you naysayers that go, oh, well, maybe the dog just couldn't smell what was going on. They have dogs for diabetics that could smell the change in blood sugar in your blood and then they alert the diabetic that they need to check and adjust their insulin.
Right.
So if they could do that, I'm pretty sure they could pick up the scent of this cat.
Of course.
Just in case.
And they're using dogs that are specific for this.
Exactly. They're hunting dogs.
I have a coonhound.
Yeah.
Little Jesse.
Yeah.
And as soon as he goes outside, the second he goes outside, his nose goes straight up into the air. He sniffs out anything. It doesn't matter if it's a deer or a neighbor's dog or whatever, and he's on the trail.
Yeah.
He's running with his nose to the ground. He doesn't look up, and that's what dogs do.
Right.
And specific breeds of dogs, that's all they do.
And then they're trained for it. It's just amplified.
And then when they refuse to go, there's something more to that.
Yeah, like a demon. They're a vampire.
Yes, it's a vampire. And they don't want their little skull crushed.
Yeah.
They know.
They enjoy having their blood in their body. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes out. The dogs refuse, so he calls it a night. The next night, he takes about 8 to 10 of his officers out to conduct their own hunt. And there's not much on this hunt. Supposedly, they say they tracked the thing for about 3 miles around the swamp. And they kind of just gave up. So I'm assuming they had a trail and then lost the trail.
Yeah. And I think in the beginning, during my description portion, that was the hunt that I was referring to as well, where they found the claws were over an inch long.
Yep.
And the pads, the impressions of the animal pad that they estimated it was about 80 to 90 pounds. I'm pretty sure that it was that chief's hunt that I was referring to during the description process.
So the next night, we're on the 5th now of January. People are, it's hard to say if they're fed up that nothing's happening or if they're just scared or they just want to help out. But now we have more than about 500 people out and hunting dogs going through the woods in the swamp to hunt this thing down. Which, if you're talking, you have just under 800 people in your town and 500 people showed up to track this thing down, that just goes to show you how terrified these people were.
Yeah, because we're only talking about a matter of about 7 to 8 days.
Right.
Since its initial sighting.
Exactly.
And they've already got posses formed and heading out in a town.
Pitchforks and torches.
In a town of only 790 people.
Yeah.
And there's already 500 of them out there searching for this thing because they're so terrified of it.
Well, they don't find anything that night, and it gets even better because the next night, on the 6th, over 800 people turned out for the hunt. So that means people from neighboring towns are hearing what's going on.
I've heard as far away as Tennessee and, bordering states and stuff, not just cities or counties within North Carolina, but people from other states are heading there.
They're probably freaked out
to find this vampire.
Yeah. So they go out, same thing. They're hunting. They got dogs. They're going around the swamps. And the police chief, Fours, he actually had a plan to tie up his dogs, his hunting dogs, to try to lure the creature out. He never put it into action. And also the Humane Society ended up reaching out to him, kind of got in a big fit about it. And they're like, please don't do this. Like,
yeah, this is
no, we're putting an end to that. Don't
probably the inception of PETA or
yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah. So they end up calling that hunt off too after a while because they thought it got too dangerous. You got over 800 people out hunting. I'm sure a lot of people are armed. You're worried about crossfire. You don't want any blue on blue type situation. So they call off the hunt. They didn't find anything anyway. Now the next night, January 7th, we kind of have the same thing going. Now we have about 800 to 1,000 people gathered to hunt. And it doesn't really get into how much they went out on that hunt, but the same thing happened. They ended up calling off the hunt. There's just too many people, and they're worried that someone's going to panic and, end up shooting their neighbor or something.
Right.
It's just too many people to have out on, especially armed. It's one thing, when you see on TV that people get out hunting for a, missing person, and they're arm to arm walking through fields. That's one thing. But when you have terrified citizens with rifles.
And, these people have to 100% believe that they're dealing with a cryptid of some sort.
Yeah.
And or a big cat that shouldn't be there. Right? I mean, if 10 people went out hunting for it, like you and I would go hunt the dog man, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But when 1,000 people...
Yeah, over your town's populace?
More than what lives in your hometown has shown up to go hunt it, then there's a 100% belief factor that there is something terrorizing that community.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, obviously so, because they got all these dead animals with crushed skulls and
no blood and jaws ripped off. They're horrified.
It's crazy.
So another hunt goes on the next night on the 8th, but this time it was only 4 fraternity brothers from the University of North Carolina, and they were the only reported hunters that were out that night. The mayor actually steps in, Mayor Fussell of the time, or Fussell. I'm going with Fussell. It looks how it says, or how it's spelled. He officially called off the hunt, essentially saying that unless there was another obvious kill or a legitimate sighting, he didn't want people going out hunting this thing. And I'm guessing...
Typical mayor response.
Exactly. I want to keep you guys safe. I don't want anybody dying. It's kind of a fear response, really.
Sure.
He says it's for their safety, but it's really because he doesn't want his people, it's for his own peace of mind. He doesn't want his people going out and getting killed because he knows there's a vampire beast running around town.
Absolutely. Everybody knows it's out there.
So then, almost a year later, December 15th, 1954, on a farm near Robinson Memorial Hospital, quote, 5 medium-sized pigs and 3 chickens, end quote, were found dead with, quote, crushed skulls. 3 of the pigs had legs torn apart from their bodies. Strangely enough, no blood was evident, indicating the killer employed the same blood-sucking traits as the Bladenboro beast, end quote. So a whole year later, we have the same exact thing.
With pigs and chickens.
Yeah, and their blood getting drained. And so the next day after that event, a stray dog was killed, which the county dog warden came out and said it was, quote, most probably, end quote, the killer from the day before, which I'm not buying that.
No.
Just a stray dog killed 3, the dog can kill chickens for sure.
Yep.
And it could kill pigs, but also drain their bloods and killed them kind of in the same manner as before. I'm not buying that.
No. And when we're talking medium-sized pigs, which was what the quote was.
Yeah.
That's a good-sized pig.
That's a good-sized pig.
I mean, sows they'll hit, I think an average one at the big end is like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? So a medium-sized pig's probably 150.
Yeah, at least,
How many stray dogs go 150 pounds?
How many
can take those pigs out?
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them.
Yeah. Can you have the energy to kill all 3 of them and then 3 chickens on top of it?
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. So, yeah, he came out and said that even though the tracks at the farm, they never compared them to the dead dogs, and it was not explained how the dogs could have reached the chickens because they were reported to have been roosting in a tree.
Oh, so he's a jumping dog, too.
Yeah,
so
he's a jumping, climbing dog over 150 pounds that can fight.
Yeah, they can fight wild pig.
And sucks their blood.
Well, they're actually probably not wild pigs, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, and then...
Drains their blood.
How much blood is in a pig?
Oh, it's got to be so much.
It's got to be a ton of
especially
blood in a pig.
A medium-sized pig.
Yeah.
It's not a little piglet or a runt to the litter. Like, come on.
So, yeah, I just try and think about... So my dogs are pretty good-sized dogs.
Yeah.
But Daryl being around 75, 80-pound Aussie. He's a big dog. I don't see him being able to kill 3 pigs, jump up in a tree, drag down 3 chickens, and drink the blood of all 6 of those animals, and then just go wandering off.
Yeah, just keep going.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening. It was not a stray dog.
It was clearly the vampire.
Yeah.
There's just absolutely no doubt.
I just don't understand why they can't accept it. Why can't you admit it?
No, I don't know. But I mean, the good part for Bladenboro is that was pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
After 1954, this thing just went into the wind.
Yep.
Never to be seen again. And so you almost have to wonder if it's kind of like what was the show? Jeepers Creepers.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where you got the creepy thing that comes, but only every, 27 years or something like that shows up. So you got to wonder, is this thing ever going to come back?
Or has it moved on?
Or has it just moved on to another area and people think it's a chupacabra, but it's really the beast of Bladenboro?
Yeah.
There's no explanation, right?
Right.
You're never going to know. And because this guy hasn't been seen since 1954,
right?
There's no accounting as to where it could have gone or where it is, or if it actually got killed or something may have happened to it,
right?
Which is why it's just gone. But no one's ever going to know.
No. So which kind of irritates me a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
I like closure on stuff.
I mean, I don't want more people's dogs getting slaughtered, but I mean, a small part of me does just for the story.
Yeah, just to bring it back.
Yeah, exactly.
But so let's get into some possible explanations.
Yep.
And
oh God, I can't wait.
I get irritated with these.
Yeah.
Because as we've said in every episode, people can't just take it with a grain of salt and say, this is something we don't know. It's been described numerous times by several different people. It's been hunted. We've seen the tracks. We know it exists. Mm-hmm. It's there. But we don't know what it is. That's all you have to say.
That's all you have to say.
But
it's almost like a fear of looking stupid. But to me, you look even more stupid.
Incredibly ignorant when you start making stuff up.
Exactly.
In our Nessie episode.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
The 25-foot beaver.
Yeah.
Versus just saying, hey, there's something out there, but we don't know what it is. We're just going to say it's a 25-foot beaver.
Yeah, or a traveling circus elephant.
Or a traveling circus elephant that's bathing. and so this one is not quite as outlandish, but when we get into these explanations, I'm going to kind of touch on why these explanations are outlandish.
Right.
They don't sound like it. Like I'm not going to say that it's a bathing elephant in the forest that
right.
And it stepped on these dogs' heads and crushed them.
Yeah,
and then used its trunk to suck the blood out. We're not going to get that outlandish, but still, when I go over this, you'll see why I feel like none of these are valid or viable explanations. So the first thing that people have come up with is it's been suggested that the beast of Bladenboro is just merely a cougar or a panther.
Which, hey, you know what? Let's say that sounds like a good idea.
And first off, when they say that a panther is any big cat species, so a cougar and a panther are the same. So it's not a cougar or a panther.
Right.
A cougar is what a lot of states call it a mountain lion, right? Some call them panthers, but a panther is just a big cat, right? I think a jaguar is a separate species of cat, not under the Panthera, whatever the Latin term for that is. But if it was a cougar or panther, I could say, well, that makes sense because that's kind of how it was described.
Sure.
And it does have big, like cat-like paws. And somebody said it looked like a tabby cat. Other people said it was brown in color.
And its movements were sneaky and stealthy and slinking like a cat.
So, sure, yeah. Certainly sounds like a cat.
Absolutely.
But guess what?
Oh, what?
There's no cougars in North Carolina.
What do you know?
Yeah, they went extinct in the 1800s. They used to be there, but there's none there now.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a cougar sighted in the state of North Carolina for almost 200 years.
Right.
So, but now all of a sudden, right, it's a cougar.
It has to be.
Yeah, it has to be a cougar. The next explanation is that it's a bobcat. Okay. A bobcat is, in fact, the only wild cat in the state of North Carolina.
Yep.
Now, if anybody wants to try and say, well, that's not true because, I'm going based on what zoologists have said. I'm going based on what scientists have said. And if you research, I pulled up every animal in the state of North Carolina, including fish and insects. There's a website that shows every animal. There's no cougars.
Yeah.
According to people.
Yeah.
Right? That are in the know. And a bobcat is the only cat. But let's face it, does a bobcat have a 14-inch long tail?
No, that's why it's called a bobcat.
Yeah. Are bobcats in the 150-pound range?
No. That'd be a massive bobcat.
That'd be a big bobcat.
Yeah.
Now, could they get that big? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But most bobcats are nowhere near that size. In fact, we're here in Montana, and Montana State University is the Bobcats.
Right.
And so they have a bobcat as their mascot.
Yeah, maybe the mascot's out there at $1.50.
Yeah, maybe it's Champ.
Yeah.
Because that's his name. Maybe he's out there crushing skulls and drinking
sucking blood. There you
go. The next one is it could be a wolf. Okay.
Sure.
So a wolf doesn't look like a cat.
No.
But okay.
Maybe it's dark and they couldn't see it really and they just thought it might be a cat.
So there's really only about 15 to 17 known red wolves in the state of North Carolina. There's some in captivity, that they put in like living museums and things like that.
Sure, yeah.
But according to science, there are between 15 and 17 red wolves, but they are only located in the far eastern portion of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, I hate to hold anything to that because wolves have a long range.
Yeah, they could travel.
I live, 80 miles-ish north of Yellowstone. And there's wolves in Yellowstone. Tons of them, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think last count, I think they got up to 600 for a while, and then they thinned out. I think they're still saying there's about 400 wolves left up there. But they multiply quickly, right?
Yeah.
They have lots of pups and whatnot. There is a known pack of wolves that comes all the way down the Gallatin River and down here into this area. And we've seen wolf prints when we've been out fishing. Remember a long time ago?
Oh, yeah.
That's either like a 175-pound dog that's running around, or that's a wolf. But they also, their paws spread out really big. So their paw prints are huge.
It's distinct, yeah.
So the whole point of that story is I know they can travel. So if they're leaving Yellowstone Park and coming 80 miles down riverbeds, I think wolves have roughly like things that I've read in the past, and don't hold me to it, but they have like a 50-mile territorial range. They do have their little dens. They do have their specific areas they like to hang out, like over in the Lamar Valley. If you ever want to go watch wolves, go to the Lamar Valley.
Yeah, you'll catch them there.
There's wolves all over the place out there. But they do also travel, right? So to say that this absolutely could not be a wolf, I'd be going out on a limb. They're in eastern North Carolina. Maybe one made it over to Bladenboro and slaughtered all these animals.
Drank their blood and crushed their skulls.
Crushed their skulls, did all these non-wolf-like things, and then hightailed it back to the eastern portion of the state. So that's possible.
Yep.
The other one is a bear. Okay, so there's like 4,000 to 6,000 black bears in North Carolina. There's no grizzlies, but there's a lot of black bears. So could it be a bear? I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with vampire bears.
With 2-foot tails.
With 2-foot tails.
Yep.
And paw prints with claws. I mean, yeah, they do have paws and they do have claws.
Right.
Right. But they don't look like a cat print.
No.
And that's what's been located.
Yeah.
So to literally have your law enforcement go out, track it, come with it, follow it for 3 miles, see all of the paw print impressions, and somehow...
Not only law enforcement, but they're hunters. These guys are hunters too.
Thousands of people too, right, out there.
Hunters aren't misidentifying.
And somehow they've misidentified a cat print
for a bear.
For a bear.
Yeah, that's not happening.
So
I'm not buying that
I'm
for a
ruling
second.
bear out. Yeah. A wolverine.
They're vicious. I love them.
Vicious animal.
Yeah, they're cool.
I still want to see one.
Yeah.
We have them here in Montana. I'd love to see one. Have never come across one since I've been here. But here's an interesting fact. There are no wolverines
there you go.
in the state of North Carolina. So why do people do this? I don't understand
I don't get it either.
Okay, well, we have this vampire beast. Oh, it's just a cougar. Yeah, but there's no cougars in our state. Yeah, but it's still just a cougar.
Yep.
Oh, no, well, forget that. It's a wolverine. Yeah, but there's no wolverines in North Carolina. Well, okay, then maybe it's a wolf. Well, we only have red wolves. Okay, well, then it's a bear.
Yep.
But what about the paw prints? Well, then guess what we're going to jump to? It's probably just a wild police dog.
Yep.
That escaped from a canine unit.
A good old wild police dog on
Got
the loose.
rabid, and he's out there running amok.
Yep, just causing a ruckus.
Now, you see, this is where you give up on humanity.
Yep, this is why we don't talk about people. This is stuff we're talking about right here.
Because people suck when it comes to this kind of stuff. Why can't you just say, we have no idea what this is? Nope.
I would respect it so much more.
It's a rabid, wild police canine.
That drinks blood and crushes skulls.
Drinks blood, crushes skulls.
And has cat paw prints.
And then just goes into hiatus.
Yep.
Right? He's probably wearing a bulletproof vest.
Yep.
You know.
He's got a gun. He's selling crack down by the river. He's totally turned.
I just can't take it.
I don't get it.
But there it is.
Yep.
You know, those are what this beast actually is. It's one of those. A panther, a bobcat, a wolf, a wolverine, a bear, or a rabid wild police dog.
Yeah.
So then there's another explanation, and thank goodness we got this intellect to give us the actual explanation as to what it is. There's this guy, and who cares if we throw his name? His last name is Stanton.
Well, you know what? That's what he gets for saying what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
This guy by the name of A.R. Stanton, he gave a dog, which was a German Shepherd Hound mix.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a pretty good mix. So you have a dog that is capable of attacking.
Yep.
A dog that is a great tracker.
Yep.
Right?
Highly intelligent.
Highly intelligent.
Yep.
I can't think of probably. I mean, there's a ton of great breeds of dog, for bird hunting. And, my dog Jesse, he'll tree a mountain lion in a heartbeat. He loves that kind of stuff. But a German Shepherd Hound mix.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there it is.
That's an ominous dog, right?
Yeah.
And so he gives this dog to this little Native American kid.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Lord knows what happens to it. Kid loses track of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But a veterinarian in the town of Lumberton, his name's N.G. Baird. So if anybody knows him, give him a high five for coming up with this one. He said that it was very feasible that the dog that this guy gave to that Native American boy was responsible for all of the attacks, and this dog lapped up all of their blood because he clearly didn't suck it out.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, of course.
And so, I'm just so excited that Mr. Baird gave us this analogy that it's just a German Shepherd running around.
Yep.
And
he's probably cousins with the wild police dog.
More than likely.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're in cahoots together. And see, the wild police dog is probably smaller.
And that's why you got the two.
Big dog, and we saw
there
the two.
It is. We figured it out.
We've got it all figured out. So don't worry, anybody in North Carolina, about the beast of Bladenboro. It's really just a wild police dog. And they only live maybe 15, 18 years, so he's long dead.
He's probably dead in a swamp.
Yeah.
Yep. Good to go.
Yeah. So I feel a lot better about it now, knowing that it's not some form of a cryptid or an evil entity that's, crushing animals and sucking their blood.
Right.
It's just a police dog.
It's just a police dog.
And I feel pretty good about that. But anyway, there's one more possible explanation. And I think you ought to touch on it because you found this one.
So this guy, local farmer, Luther Davis, on January 13th, he found a bobcat that was struggling in a steel trap that they had set up in Big Swamp, which is about 4 miles from the city. So he shoots this thing in the head to put it out of its misery, essentially. So Mayor Fussell comes to the rescue of Bladenboro, and he tells the newspapers that the beast of Bladenboro has been found and killed.
Well, hot diggity.
There it is.
Yeah, it's over. The reign of terror has ended.
So, although, some people, they just, unfortunately like us, they weren't buying it. And they questioned it. And they said, how could such a small cat have killed and mangled all these dogs in the manner that it did? And on that same day, this guy, Bruce Souls, from Tabor City, was leaving Bladenboro when he ends up accidentally running over a cat with his vehicle. And according to the reports, it was, quote, spotted like a leopard, end quote. It's roughly 20 to 24 inches tall and weighed anywhere from 75 to 90 pounds. So he takes this cat back to his house in Tabor City. I'm guessing they're claiming that's the beast as well.
Wow, okay.
So we got two.
Well, at least that's closer.
Yeah.
Right? So you got that 20 to 24 inch height.
Yep.
The weight is, roughly there.
Yeah.
Not 150, but maybe the smaller.
Yeah. So now they're both dead.
Now they're both dead. Yeah.
On top of it, a third man, a quote, professional hunter and guide, end quote, Barry Lewis, he's credited in some newspapers as having killed the animal. But, of course, there were conflicting reports about whether it was Davis's or Lewis's cat that Mayor Fussell had photographed and sent out to the news stations. And Lewis was reportedly hunting in a different part of Bladen County when he shot and killed his bobcat. So there's just too much conflicting stuff there. I think they shot bobcats.
They shot bobcats.
Or killed bobcats. And
for no reason.
And they're just saying, well, that's it. That's the beast. We got him.
Yeah.
Game over.
And that does not match the description given by the majority of people who saw it.
Right. Especially because that happened on the 13th. But we have that report at the end of that year, on December 15th, of it killing the pigs.
With the pigs
so
and the
there's
chicken. Yeah.
obviously no way that they got the beast.
No, they didn't get the beast.
It was the way of the mayor being able to calm the town down. He's got his entire town and neighboring towns coming out, going on these hunts, freaked out, and he's just saying, hey, we got it. Everyone can relax now.
It reminds me of Jaws. The movie Jaws. Yes. Remember the mayor didn't want to close the beaches down?
Yep.
And then those fishermen went out and they caught a big shark, but it wasn't the shark, right?
Yeah.
And so they put it out. We got him. We got the shark. And the mayor's, bring him on, open the beaches. And then, of course, everybody's killed.
Yeah.
It's the same story.
Same story, just on land in a forest.
They kill a bobcat, pass it off as the beast of Bladenboro. Mayor wants it out there so that the townspeople are at rest. And then it comes back and kills again.
Yeah.
So it's real life Jaws.
Because just like today, people read the headline and go off the headline instead of looking into the report. Right. And they go, oh, headline, it was killed.
It was killed.
Oh, perfect. I can go about my day now. Yeah. When really it's out there just waiting for you to leave your dogs alone.
Yeah, and the people of Bladenboro, they had to have known.
Yeah.
You guys did not get it. That's a bobcat, and that's not what we saw.
And you can actually Google the picture of the bobcat that they supposedly killed.
I've seen
They're holding it up,
yeah.
and there's no way.
Yeah,
it's a good-sized bobcat.
It's a good-sized bobcat, but it's not that much bigger than a domestic cat.
It's not the beast of Bladenboro.
It's not the beast of Bladenboro, and it's certainly not a vampire.
No, bobcats aren't out there sucking the blood out of
just
dogs.
Irritates me. So all right, that's basically the bottom line on the beast. There's nothing left to go on. He's gone.
Right.
So if he comes back, then, that'll be a great further story.
Yeah.
But at least for the time being, he's been gone for 50 years.
Yeah.
And unless he's some kind of a demonic entity that's cycling every, 50 or 100 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess he's done. But Monster Quest in 2008, I used to love that show.
Yep, loved it.
But now that I see this, I'm a little angry.
Yep.
Because in 2008, the History Channel's Monster Quest, they aired an episode where they do like an analysis of this beast of Bladenboro. And do you know what they concluded?
I can't wait.
Well, it's just a cougar.
You know, it's crazy because I would have, if I was a betting man, I would have said I saw every episode of that show, and I do not remember this one.
I don't remember this one either.
Yeah.
But I guess my question would be this. If you can just Google, just really quick,
Yep.
are there cougars in North Carolina? And you immediately get the answer that they've been extinct since 1800. Then how do you conclude
that it was a cougar?
That it was a cougar. And this is a show that anybody that's interested in cryptozoology, unexplained things, monsters, whatever you want to put this into a category, right? That show was one of the better ones.
Yeah, I love that show.
And yet they can conclude something that a 5-year-old can look up and say, it couldn't have been a cougar.
Yeah, it says right here.
They don't live there.
Yeah.
And so that irritates me. So I don't know if I can ever watch.
Nope, they're done with them.
And so, lastly, the last thing I've got is, we always kind of go over like the modern day culture or popularity of whatever cryptid is in that specific area. And we've missed some in the past, like the Lizard Man festivals and
now we just have them to look forward to is how I look at it. Yeah,
and I think that's how we have to look at it. We need to know this stuff before, though. We do the research so that we can actually attend one of these. But even though this guy hasn't been around for many, many years, the legend still grows in popularity in Bladenboro. They actually erected a sign to commemorate the horrifying events that took place back in 1953-54. And the town holds a big festival right in downtown Bladenboro. And it is the Bob Festival.
That's awesome.
The big old beast of Bladenboro Festival. They've had them now for, this year was the 17th annual festival.
Yeah.
And they have music and food and something that we needed to be at.
Yeah, because I'm sure they got trinkets and T-shirts.
They're selling merch there, and we need it. You know, we should have had it for our studio just to hang something up.
And I wasn't thinking about it until we did the research, though. But technically, how I look at it, the last killing, the 50th anniversary is just a month away.
Oh,
December 15th of 1954 was, in my opinion, the last killing. So
that should be the big.
I'm going to have to be reading the Bladenboro News on the 16th to see if anything happened.
That should have been the biggest festival going.
Yeah.
50-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So it took place October 25th and 26th. So we missed it.
Yep.
Here we are in November. And ticks me off, but we've missed all of them.
Yeah.
I think we're always a day late, a dollar short.
It's just about it.
I'm pretty sure it was the Lizard Man festival that we literally missed by a weekend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, it was.
We're releasing on Friday and it was the Saturday before or something, But we're always missing out on these. We need to be more up on festivals. Anyway, that's pretty much all we have on the Beast of Bladenboro. If you're living in North Carolina or visiting the area, I don't think you have a whole lot to worry about unless he is coming back.
Yeah,
for the 50th
still keep your head on a swivel. Keep your dogs locked inside, maybe.
Keep your dogs locked up.
And potentially small children, maybe no. Who knows?
Yeah,
None have been reported, but maybe that's what's next.
If you hear a loud scream or a baby crying in the woods, don't go investigate.
Hopefully it's not a real thing and it's that,
Well, it's probably just a rabid police dog.
Yeah, rabid selling crack by the river. With his cousin, the German Shepherd.
Yeah, it's Cujo. Anyway, so that's all I got. Jake, you got anything else before we conclude?
No, that's it. This was a good one. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, the Beast of Bladenboro. I had not really heard of him.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a lot of our listeners, unless you live in North Carolina.
Yeah.
If you're a West Coaster or, Middle America, you probably have never heard of it.
No. And that's what I wouldn't have even thought to look up to see if they had a festival.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought.
Who would know?
They had one event, quote, it went over a span of about a year, but, back in the 50s and now it's nothing.
Right.
I wouldn't think that 50 years later they're still rocking and rolling. But
no.
Yeah, they
are.
But
they are.
Yeah, they are.
They are, and they're waiting for his return.
Hopefully we'll make the 18th.
Yeah. So in 2 weeks, I think our next episode, we're looking at, there's not a lot on this guy.
Not a lot at all.
So research wise, there's hardly any sightings of him, and not really sure how much we're going to come up with on him. But people do know about him.
Yep.
And that is the one and only Bat Squatch.
Yeah. At the request of my son, we'll be doing it. He's excited about that one. So
basically Bigfoot with bat wings.
Exactly, yeah.
And so we'll see what we can come up with on him. And then I'm really looking forward to our December episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know, should we throw it out there?
Yeah, might as well. It's fine.
I think we are looking at finally hitting our Dogman episode.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites for Christmas.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Krampus.
Yep, I can't wait for that one.
So look,
that movie has become a tradition with me. Christmas Vacation and Krampus every year.
I watch it probably twice a year.
Yep.
I watch it like midstream, and then I have to watch it at Christmas.
And the one with the Adam Scott, that actor.
Yeah.
Not the other, because there's several movies, but that one.
There's several Krampuses.
And they're good, but that one's...
I love the comedy horror.
Yeah, that one's... it's amazing.
It doesn't get much better than Krampus, other than maybe Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But anyway, come back in 2 weeks and hear the story of Bat Squatch.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the show and you want to help us out, then go ahead and give us a follow, leave us a review, and don't forget to turn on the automatic download button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And as always, if you've had any experiences, stories, thoughts, comments, or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to cryptidfanatic@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to be on the show or just have your story featured during one of our episodes.